Hi, I'm Jesse Morris, and today we'll be making a meal exclusively using Trader Joe's ingredients. We're going to be making a sweet potato and carrot soup along with roasted Brussels sprouts, and we're going to use the Brussels sprout outsides as a garnish for the soup. So, the first ingredient we're going to use is Mirepoix. Now, you can make this yourself by chopping up celery, carrot, and onions, but Trader Joe's has this really easy container to use. Mirepoix, I was actually looking it up, is not a name for anything. It's actually the name of the French aristocrat whose chef came up with this technique. So this will be the base of our soup. Before I throw this in the pan, we're going to take a tablespoon of unsalted Kerrygold Irish butter. This is amazing butter. You should buy it because it is grass-fed. And we're going to do a tablespoon of this with a tablespoon of olive oil in the pan. So right now I'm taking the butter and I'm mixing it into olive oil and just letting it melt slowly before we put in the Mirepoix. Taking the Mirepoix, and you can dump the whole thing right in the soup. Now this is one container. This whole soup is going to serve about 8 people. 8 to 10 servings it should last. These peppercorns are so great from Trader Joe's, and this is the pink Himalayan salt. I really like using that when seasoning vegetables. So 4 or 5 cracks of the pepper and about 2 good cracks of the salt. I am very conscious of sodium, so it's good not to use too much. So while we let that go for a couple of minutes on medium heat, we are going to prepare our sweet potatoes and carrots. I have prepared a bunch of them already, but I'm going to show you kind of my tricks on getting them to be the same size. So I am using 4 to 5 sweet potatoes here. These are about a medium to large size sweet potato, and I'm going to use 4 carrots per sweet potato. So if we're using 4 sweet potatoes, we're using 16 carrots, and that's about what we have here. So to peel both, I think peeling is so therapeutic too. It's nice to get in the kitchen. So we're going to take the sweet potato. I like to chop off the ends because the ends have just a little knobs and they're not a lot of flavor in there. And I just like to take a quick peeler of the sweet potato. And I like to turn the sweet potato as I'm going so I don't have to disrupt my motion. I just did half of it. Now I'm going to do the other. You don't have to get all of it. There's actually nutrients in the skin. It's much better for creamy soups if you don't include the skin. Do the same for our carrots. I can hear the Mirepoix sizzling behind me.
Hold that thought. Okay, keep going.
We're almost done with our next carrot. It's really important to do the prep work before you're starting a meal. You cannot start cooking unless you have all of your ingredients already prepped and cut. Some of my chef friends have told me that. So before we cut these, I'm just going to take all of this beautiful compost and drop it into, you guessed it, the Trader Joe's brown bags. Always get paper, it's much better for the environment. Okay, so quick chop. I like to dice the sweet potato long ways. And these are really beets, so you kind of have to lock into it. I like to do it one more time. We need to get these at similar size to the carrots or they'll just cook at different temperatures and different times. We don't want that to happen. So I like to take these side by side like that and just good chop. Make sure you have a nice sharp chef's knife to do this. I'll throw that in here. And similar with our carrots, just follow suit. Okay, beautiful. So I'm going to bring all of this over to the stove where we are going to check in on our Mirepoix. I wish wooden bowls had spouts, don't you? It would be really cool, or if there was a hole in the bottom of it that I could just pour over the pan. Look at a runaway peel. Okay, so you have all those in the pan, and my good friend olive oil is next to me. Pour that over. This olive oil is really good at Trader Joe's. The thing I love most about Trader Joe's is that instead of having 20 different types of olive oil, they have 3. I think that was one of the reasons why they were so successful. We're also going to take a little bit more butter, another tablespoon of the Kerrygold butter, which is literally melting in my hands right now. It's so soft. When butter from grass-fed cows, you can tell how much better it is. It's so soft. That'll just impart a lot more flavor in the soup. Okay. We're going to get stirring. We just want to make sure that the Mirepoix is not completely stuck at the bottom here, or else that will burn. Remember, the Mirepoix is cut a lot finer than the rest of this vegetable is. So we just want to make sure we get a nice mix. So while these sweet potato and carrots are going over by the stove, I want to talk about Brussels sprouts. Now, as a kid, I didn't like Brussels sprouts at all because my mom would steam them or boil them. Roasting them is by far the best way to cook a Brussels sprout, and this is my trick to doing so. So Trader Joe's has these beautiful bags of Brussels sprouts. They come this way, they're completely whole. And I want to show you a quick trick about cutting Brussels sprouts. So my knife is over here. Gotta get it. So Brussels sprouts have a lot of these leaves on the outside which cook much faster than the rest of it, and they have a base that you need to chop off. So chop off the base, put that away. We'll do 2 here. Put that away. And then I like to take them and I chop them in half once. If you take them apart, all of a sudden, now I haven't pulled any of these leaves off, but look at that. These are beautiful leaves that end up turning into Brussels sprout chips when you bake them. So I'm going to take all of the meat of the Brussels sprouts and throw them in this bowl. Okay, we're going to dress those in a second. And I'm going to take all of the outsides and put them in a bowl with their friends. Now we're going to use these crispy outsides as a garnish for our sweet potato and carrot soup. They'll be delicious. And these are going to roast in the oven, and I'll show you how we're going to dress them right now. So, again, we're going to take our olive oil. I'd say about 2 tablespoons for, this is about a bag and a half of those Brussels sprouts. And we're just going to do probably a half tablespoon on top of the chips, as I like to call them. Now, again, salt and pepper. Make sure they're really well seasoned. And you don't even need a spoon. In a big mixing bowl like this, you have run away! Don't run away on me. In a big mixing bowl. Alright, they're all nice and dressed. And I like to take crushed red pepper flakes and also pour them on top. This will impart a nice little bit of heat, and the flavor profiles just work so well together. I'm only going to do a little bit on the chips because we don't want the sweet potato soup to be too hot. I'm going to dress these again. You can just mix this up with your hands. It's amazing how much quicker the chips will cook than the actual Brussels sprouts themselves. All right, these are nice and dressed. And the last thing we're going to add to the big boy Brussels sprout mixture is garlic. Now, I took 4 cloves of the premium peeled garlic. This is what it looks like here. Now, it's totally fine to buy fresh garlic, but this just makes it so much easier. And I like to do a really coarse chop because when the Brussels sprouts are cooking, if these were too thin, they would burn, and we don't want that to happen. So we're going to throw those in there, mix it around again, and they're almost ready for the oven. So I'm going to get a really nice pan, which I have over here. Now while I get that, I'm going to give my sweet potatoes and carrots a quick stir. This is a pro tip. We've separated our Brussels sprout leaves from our Brussels sprout cores, and we're going to place the Brussels sprout cores face down on the pan. This is because you'll get a beautiful caramelization on the cut side. And there's a lot more fun to eat that way. If you had them on the non-cut side, it wouldn't be as caramelized because you still the outside leaf is kind of protecting it from the meat of the Brussels sprout. So I like to place these like so. You do not have to oil your pan. I actually don't like to oil the pan because the Brussels sprouts are already oiled. And if you get a couple leaves off in your fingers, you can just throw it into your bowl there. Now these are going to cook in the oven about 400 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes, depending on how big your Brussels sprouts are. I would check them after 20 minutes. And you can tell if they've shrunken in size and they have a nice dark roasted green color. People have different preferences about how roasted they like their Brussels sprouts, but the flavor really does change. Now it is crucial that they are all face down. It allows them to cook all at the same time. If some aren't face down, then they'll cook at different times, and we don't want that to happen. So do that here. Now what I want you to do, they can be really close together. I want to leave a little space on the pan to put the chips. So leave 20% space on your pan. And look how much space I just reserved by pushing them all down. Now you'll see I'm not using a new baking sheet. I really like baking sheets you've used for a long time. Do not throw these away. This is gold. These have taken years of beautiful beating in the oven, and there's flavor trapped in all that dark brown. Do not throw these away. Give them to me. Come to my house. I'll take your old pans all day and throw them in a oven-safe pan. This is an awesome Cuisinart pan. And all the pans and the things that I'm using today, I'll put into a short link at the top of our video description. This Cuisinart pan is the best. It's a non-stick pan. And the reason why I'm putting the chips in here is that it will cook at a different cooking time than the Brussels sprout hearts. So both of these can go into a 400-degree oven right now. Again, these are going to cook for about 20 to 30 minutes. And the chips are going to cook, I would check them after 7 minutes, 7 to 12 minutes until they're nice and crispy. You can tell. These are going to be so awesome. Okay. So now is about the time where we can put in our stock. Now I decided to use a vegetable stock here to keep this a fun recipe. Now you can use chicken stock as well. These are low sodium vegetable broth from Trader Joe's. Now, the rule of thumb when it comes to making soup like this is using enough broth to cover the top of the vegetables. So this is a 4-cup cylinder of vegetable stock. I have a feeling that about 1.5 of these will suffice. Wow, maybe just 1.25. Now, if you're ever in a pinch, you don't have enough stock, you can use half stock and half water. It doesn't make too much of a difference from a flavor profile. But if you have enough stock to cover it all, I usually like to go this way. So again, we're covering the vegetables in stock. What this is going to do, it's going to a boil. And we're going to boil this. We're going to put a top on this, and so it reaches temperature quicker, and we'll wait for it to boil. So it's been about 12 minutes. We've got our Brussels sprout chips here. Now these are done. You still want to maintain green and see that caramelized color. Now this is really hot, so I'm going to put it on my cutting board and let it cool down. You just check on these guys. And a really good trick for checking if these are done. Now you can tell if the coloring is really good. I like to see at the bottom. And the bottom of these are really caramelized. These probably only need about 2 to 3 more minutes. So I'll throw those back in there. And this is by far the best part of making soup. Cuisinart Immersion Blender. In the restaurants they have immersion blenders that are about 5 times the size of this. But you can use these to make soups a lot of different ways. But what we've done here today with sweet potatoes and carrots, you can do with a variety of other root vegetables. So we're going to go in. Now, there's really only one speed. And what I like to do is start at the top and pulse until everything starts to break up. And then you'll see how we can stir.
Did you make carrots too? No.
So, the Brussels sprouts are done. I've put them around the outside of a plate with a bowl in the center. We're going to take our soup, the nice ladle. I'd say 3 or 4 good scoops of this is great for one person. Probably 3 with this bowl. We're going to take a little olive oil, dress the top, some pepper, and then we're going to take the Brussels sprout chips and garnish the top. Now I'm going to take a spoon. I have a plastic spoon here, but we're going to go for it. Try it out. Ooh! Hot, but delicious.